Hello everyone, this is SUPEREEVEEMASTER here, and welcome to the 2015 Toyota Owners 400 at Richmond race reviewer here. So today I will be recapping what went on in today's very special and unique Richmond race. And by special and unique, I mean more in terms of the conditions. Like for example, this was the fourth time in the track's history that a Sprint Cup Series race was postponed to the daytime. And I'll get into that a little bit more, and also be recapping some of the comers and goers, and the surprises and our stuff like that. I feel like compared to the past couple ones, I'm expecting that this one will be a shorter one if you're watching this live. So yeah, so let's get down into business right here. So the Toyota Owners 400. I think this is the fourth race to have that sponsor, and sort of an interesting thing is that this was also the first NASCAR race to have a hydrogen-powered pace car runs on water, and so that was very cool. And I think hydrogen-powered cars could definitely be a future. But anyway, let's get into the pre-race notes here. So this is the second short track race in a row, and that is the first in 5 years because remember they went to Bristol last week. And watch out for tire problems. There weren't really like tire problems today. I just feel like historically there have been tire problems, but I feel like since, like, if you remember a year ago, there were a number of tire problems that actually resulted in cars actually catching on fire here. But I think that those tire problems were fixed last September for here. And I feel like also, speaking of last September, like the recent races at Richmond have either been like hot or cold. And I think what I mean by that is I think that they've either been eventful or not eventful. Like I feel like that we had a pretty eventful Richmond race a year ago, whether you like that race or not. And last September was, in my opinion, and I think I said this last week, one of the worst NASCAR race I've ever seen. And this is coming from someone who has been watching the sport since the fall of 2007. Also, Chase Elliott makes his second Cup Series start, and now let's get on to practice right here. Brad Keselowski, who won in September, wins opening practice. Casey Kane wins the second and final practice right here, and Casey Kane seems to be getting their practice things right, and they were definitely strong today as well. Logano wins the pole, and then as of Friday night, there was there was reports of 80% chance of rain or higher for Saturday, and then Sunday didn't. And at this time, Sunday did not look good either, but with 60% chance of rain. And then also, we're just going to change topics here. There are reports, and I don't think NASCAR has like officially confirmed anything. I think all NASCAR is saying is that when NASCAR says David Reagan in 55, they put a question mark at the end, which means that it could be a possibility, but it's not officially confirmed. But I think Reagan will be in the 55 after Talladega, and Michael Waltrip will be in the 55 car at Talladega because he likes to run the restricted play racetracks here, which I feel like means a couple things. This could be Michael Waltrip, and actually I don't. Yeah, sorry. And if Reagan gets into the 55 car, which I think is for sure most likely, he'll be in the 55 car for the remainder of the season, which could be Michael Waltrip's subtle way of being like, sorry, Brian Vickers, you will not be driving for my team anymore. But there are people saying that after the season is over, Brett Moffitt will take over the 55 for a full-time season here, which I could see that. And then also what this means is that with Reagan in the 55, who will be in the 18? Well, as many people have been predicting, Eric Jones will be in the 18 car starting at Kansas, which is right after Talladega, until Kyle returns. And I think I see Kyle Busch returning sometime in July or August in the Sprint Cup Series. And then also, speaking of driver changes, Jeb Burton, who failed to qualify in his 26 car, will fill in for J.J. Daly. And I don't really know like the full news or not, but I think there are reports of how the team that Jet Byrne drives for and the team that Yaley drives for could be merging together very shortly. And then, as I said earlier, with the chance of rain, that rain just happened to come true right here, and the race was, and even before the race is scheduled starting, it was announced in the pre-race that there was just simply too much rain, and the race was postponed to 1 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. And also because the race was going to start tomorrow, as of Saturday, it's going to be a green racetrack, and you can throw out all the night preparation setup. And what also makes this race interesting is that I said how it was the fourth Richmond race to be postponed to be in the daytime right here. The last time that happened was the fall of 2008, and at that point, Richmond itself, along with the cars, were totally different. So in some ways, this race was kind of, you could say, kind of like equivalent to like drivers coming to like a new racetrack right here. So yeah, I personally like it when Richmond, when NASCAR race at Richmond is held under the daytime, just simply because it's just kind of, it's kind of like a special treat, and I kind of don't fully understand why Richmond has to have both of its races under the lights. I think, to me, Bristol is a more worthy track of doing that. So if I were in charge of NASCAR, I would just have like one race in the daytime and then one race under the lights. What? Excuse me. Anyway, now let's get into the racer here. And what's kind of I'm going to go off topic here for a brief moment here, but this race review is actually being done for those who are not watching this live. This race review was done, actually, I wanted to say less than an hour after the broadcast on Fox was done, which is not normal. I usually do these like 4 hours sometimes after the race ends, but I just feel like that I wanted to do something different. But anyway, now let's get into the race. Polsetter Logano got the lead right off the back right here, heading into turn 1 on the start of the race right here. And then on lap 5 right here, Danica Patrick had a pretty close call right here when she was in the middle of a 3-wide situation and thought that there was a hole in the bottom, but the hole got closed up very quickly and got tapped by Casey Music here. But she was able to save the car here, but it caused drivers like Patrick, Mears, Jr., Johnson, and Bain to all get cosmetic damage right here. But no one was seriously damaged. And then this would eventually become one of the couple of themes of the race here. Hamlin, who started second and actually won the Xfinity Series race on Friday night, leading 248 of the 250 laps, who started second, looked to be very promising as the driver to win this race, but he started falling back right here. He was already outside the top 10 by the time the competition caution rolled around right here. But before I get to what happened, but before I get to that, I just want to say that before the competition caution, this is where we started to see Kurt Busch, who I don't think was really talked very much about as a driver who could win this race, started to become a contender right here. And so drivers like Truex and Harvick and Kenton and Gordon. So all those drivers started catching Logano here by the time the competition caution arrived right here on lap 51. Pit stops are here, and then most of the field then change positions after the competition caution. No strategy was made. Restart here, lap 57, and then by lap 69 here, the top 3 biggest moves were all Hendrick drivers: Kane, Johnson, and Dale Jr. And then Kurt Busch here was able to catch Logano by lap 88, and then by lap 95, Kurt Busch became the new leader here. And then very shortly after, Kurt Busch had over a second leader here. And this is the part of the race of where Logano started to fall back, and it would take a long time right here. And I feel like one thing that I think needs to be worked on is that the Penske teammates need to somehow be able to learn how to keep a strong car throughout the whole entire race here, not just have a strong car in like the first 20% of the race. but anyway, um, and then by lap 111 right here, Kevin Hart, who was in second, was actually catching Kurt Busch right here. And then by lap 115 right here, we started to see Kurt Busch actually inside the top 10, top 5. And this is a driver who hasn't really been talked about very much. I mean, he's kind of been Mr. 20 place all the time. But this race was definitely a breakout race for him. And then caution number 2 right here. Joey Gase gets bumped by Eric Almirola on the back stretcher here, and eventually nearly avoids this caution here. But Joey Gase hits the inside wall here, and this would be I want to say this was I would say the crash that that caused the most damage on a car. But anyway, lap 130 right here, there were pit stops right here, and then the clip wire who was in or around the top 5 was trying to exit, and Danko was trying to enter, made contact right here, significant damage on the right front of his car, but that didn't really seem to affect his car too much because even though he did fall out to the top 10, he was able to rally himself back and finish ninth. I'll get into where everyone finished later. Restart here, lap 137, caution number 3, Josh Wise got stalled, and this was a lap after the restart. In turns 1, 2 on the apron, then we have restart again, lap 144, caution number 4 again for Josh Wise, but this time he blew up, and I think he was coming out to the garage, I think. His stops are here, lap 165, but really not any significant changes. Restart here, lap 171. Keselowski made a move into second place, and this is where we started to see Keselowski. I think this is where we started to see Keselowski really show himself as a driver who could knock out Kurt Busch, who was still very dominant. Here, and then by the midway point, I think one, if not the biggest theme by this point, was just simply the comers and goers were here. And then also, and one of those comers was Kissy Kane, who started 40th, had to take a champion's provisional to be in this here. He started 40th, and he made his way into the top 5. And he had a very good car all day. And then also around the same time, McMurray got into the top 5 right here. And then McMurray was actually in second place right here. And then by lap 200 for the air here, McMurray was actually battling Kurt Busch here. McMurray would take the leader here on lap 262, and he would have the lap. He would be able to take the leader here on lap 262. But he would only have to lead for a short amount of time because the green flag pit stops began right here. And then in the middle of the green flag pit stops are here. Caution number 5 right here went right off it, smacked the wall. Obviously had a right front tire down, and this was kind of like the main and possibly the only tire problem we had almost all race long right here. And what this caused a lot of things. Brad Keselowski and Justin Allgaier were the only 2 cars on the lead lap right here. And actually, just before the caution was played, Kurt Busch was actually able to get by Keselowski to get his lap back right here. And that would eventually be a winning move right there. And McMurray, who was 4th at the time, would get the free pass. And then everyone else, I think it was 15 drivers, took the wave around right here. But one consequence of taking the wave around right here is that you have to start behind. I think you start behind the cars who are actually like a lap or multiple laps down. And so what that allowed right there was Kurt Busch, who stayed out while Keselowski and Allgaier, who didn't make the green flag pit stops, came down the road. Kurt Busch was leading, but by the time the lap 279 restart began right here, and then Allgaier was actually able to get to one of the highest positions he's been in his NASCAR Spectacular Series career, which was second. He was actually able to stay right there for about 30 laps, and I was definitely impressed by that. I think Allgaier. The thing is, Allgaier and Michael Annett, who are teammates, actually they raced for, I want to say the name is H. Scott Motorsports here. There, and that team actually uses Hendrick engines, which would explain why Allgaier not only had a good car for a short time in this race, but also had a good car last week and was able to get a career best of 8th place at Bristol. But anyway, right here. But then Allgaier would lose second here and then start falling back right here by lap 3:15 right here when Murray got by Justin right here, and then the reports as debris in turn number 3, and then that debris would result in caution number 6 right here on lap 252 right here, and this caution came out with less than 50 laps to go. And when I was watching this right here, I was like, this could get interesting right here. And then there were pit stops right here, and then Kurt Busch won the race on pit road, but then we had McMurray and Johnson second and third right here. And Johnson, by the way, he started 36 right here, and just like Bristol, he also got a terrible qualifying position, but finished well in that race right here. Lap 3:59 right here, restart, and right away, and the lap after the restart here, caution number 7 right here when battle mid pack right here between. I think what happened was that there were reports around this time where Justin Allgaier apparently had stomach cramps, so he couldn't exactly drive as well. And then Justin Allgaier slid out the race track right here, which stacked up the field. Junior had to check up right here, and then drivers like Larson and Stewart were approaching faster here. And I think, whether you're Team Junior or Team Stewart, I think it was just simply a racing incident right here. There were, even though Tony Stewart was not interviewed, he was very frustrated, and there were people saying, well, I think Tony Stewart might have expected Junior to stay closer to the wall. Because I honestly have not seen the replay yet. So I'll have to see what really happened. I just think it was a racing accident here. Then we had a restart here on lap 3:68 right here, and then Jeb Burton spun on the backstretch on that same lap right here. But also at the same time, right as soon as the green flag wave right here, Logano who restarted 7th, Gordon who restarted 5th. Logano got a really good restart here. Gordon didn't get. Logano got a better restart than Gordon here, and Gordon was actually trying to pass Johnson, who was in 3rd place here. And then I think Gordon was trying to pass Johnson, but then at the same time, he was trying to block Logano right here. And then Logano, and he tried to block Logano, and Logano actually got part of his car actually on the apron here, entering turn number 1 right here. But the Gordon was able to back off and let Logano in right here. So Logano got by Gordon right here, and I think that this was possibly maybe, if not the most controversial move of the race, you could say. But I just feel like, I think that I don't think Logano or Gordon did nothing wrong. But anyway, restart here, lap 375, and then right here, Harvick was able to take 3rd away from Johnson, and then 10 laps later on lap 384, Harvick was able to take 2nd away from McMurray. And at this point, I was kind of surprised to see McMurray and Johnson. I thought that they would be I thought that they would actually be more. They would actually be drivers who could actually challenge Kurt Busch, but I guess not. We're here late in the race, but I feel like maybe both of those drivers had, in my opinion, longer run cars, and on a restart that had 25 laps to go. 25 laps at Richmond is not a long run. I would still consider it a short run right here. But anyway, Harvick here was able to get into 2nd right here, and it looked like that he actually might catch down Kurt Busch right here, but he just was not able to do so. Kurt Busch had a very comfortable 0.9 second lead by the time the white flag waved. Coming to the checkered flag, Kurt Busch right here wins the race, first in 2015. He's now in the chase, and first win in over a year, and he led a career high in one race, 291 laps led. The last time he led around that amount of laps was actually the 2010 Coca-Cola 600, which he also went on to win that race right here. But 291 out of 400 laps, that is the most laps he's ever led in a single race in his career. And I feel like, to me, Kurt Busch definitely deserved this one. He's been fighting pretty much ever since he was reinstated by NASCAR. And the thing is, I feel like Kurt Busch, he could be a championship contender. He could be one of those Final Four drivers in the chase. So But I think at this point, I think it's almost certain that unless he just happens to fall off right here before the chase starts, I think Herbush will definitely be a championship contender. I think it's almost. I think it's very likely to say. I think it's very likely that that will happen. But anyway, and while I was actually able to use all, I was actually able to recap this entire what went on in the race and the pre-race all under 20 minutes here. But anyway, now let's get into one of the newer things I do during race reviews is not only is not just discuss where we finished, but also discuss who were my surprises and who were my disappointments are here. But anyway, let's get into where everyone finished are here. Kurt Busch finished first, Kevin Harvick second, Johnson third, McMurray fourth, fifth was Logano, sixth was Kane, seventh was Kenton, eighth was Gordon, ninth was Kepler, 10th was Truex, Ryan Newman finished 11th, Larson 12th, the 47 of Allmendinger finished 13th, Junior finished 14th, Bernard 15th, Chase Elliott 16th, 17th was Brad Keselowski, 18th was Justin Allgaier, Carl Edwards 19th, Eric Almirola 20th, 21st was Greg Biffle, 22nd Denny Hamlin, 23rd was Reagan, Bain finished 24th, Patrick finished 25th, Castle 26th, Austin Dillon 27th, Stenhouse Jr. 28th, 29th goes to Red Moffitt, 30th goes to Casey Mears, David Gilliland 31st, Alex Bowman in the 7th finished 32nd, the 46th of Michael Nett finished 34th, 34th was Reed Sorensen, 35th was Sam Horse Jr., Cole Witt finished 36th, Matt Tabella finished 27th, not 27th, 37th, Jeff Vernon finished 28th, Alex Kennedy 39th, Jeff Green 40th, 41st Tony Stewart, 42nd Josh Wise, 43rd Joey Gase. Anyway, I feel like to me, disappointment was not exactly all. I said I think to me now I'm going to name my surprises and then my disappointing or sad, you know. But anyway, here I think let me just start with my surprises are here. So I think my surprises were here. I was definitely surprised by Jamie McMurray. Like I actually picked him as a dark horse entering this weekend, and I did not expect his car to actually run as great as he did here. So I was definitely impressed by that. And it looked like that if the green flag pit stops actually cycled, he actually could had a better shot of winning. But overall, great job for McMurray to finish fourth right here. Casey Kane was no driver, you know, just because he started 40th right here, and I don't really remember him like I know Richmond was the place of his first career win back in 2005, I want to say. But other than that, I don't really remember him having other like big success at Richmond. So I was surprised by that. Boyer, ninth place, and that's what he needs and what his team needs to get back on track and to be the team they once were in 2012. I was also impressed by Chase Elliott right here, especially after coming off of Martinsville, where he did not have a good car to begin with and got involved in a restart collision, and he finished 37th, I want to say. You know, I was definitely impressed by that. Justin Allgaier, even though he had stomach cramps and finished 18th, I was still impressed by his sort of like 30, 40 lap period where he was in second place. And I'm looking at our jersey here, and I think that's pretty much it. And now let's name the disappointments here. I think, first of all, number one on my disappointment or drivers that I was sad to see where they finished was Denny Hamlin here. Because the thing is, I don't really know what happened. I think to me, what might have hurt Hamlin the most was just simply, I think that team was sort of, I think to me historically, Hamlin has been in Richmond races that were postponed to the daytime, but I just don't remember him be much of a winning contender in those races. You know, 2007 spring and then 2008 fall. I just think Hamlin just runs better at the nighttime at Richmond, which might explain why. But I think also his team was more preparing and had a setup that was more fit for the nighttime. And to start second and then fall off really quickly, I mean, it wasn't like Hamlin fall off on lap 375. He started falling off right off the bat. Yeah, sorry. and I'm sorry if you can hear a dog in the background. Um, Brad Keselowski, I mean, I know he dropped a cylinder, but the thing is, I was just simply expecting a much better finish, especially since he won this race last September in a dominating fashion, leading 383 laps. That was another one. I could put Patrick on this list, but I feel like I'm not, just because I don't think like Richmond and Dan and Patrick really work together. So I'm just gonna. I could put her as like a slightly disappointment, but I'm not. Tony Stewart, to me, I think at one point Tony Stewart might have actually been inside the top 10 early in the race, but um, for the most part, he had a top 15 car. But nevertheless, top 15 is to me is still a better finish than what he a top 15 finish would have still have been a better finish than what he the where he has finished throughout most of the races. And I thought Bristol would have given him some momentum. It definitely did give him like some momentum, but I just think that I don't think it was exactly his fault that he got involved in that situation where him and Junior made contact and he spun on the front stretcher here. But it's just simply disappointing to see Tony Stewart have his worst career start to a season ever. And I just hope that he starts that he can turn around like the luck and the great cars in the future. As far as the other drivers on this list, I think I think to me, AJ Allmendinger, even though he finished 13th, and that's definitely not that bad at all. I just think that he qualified. He qualified fourth, so I kind of expected just a little bit more from him. But I feel like that's pretty much all I gotta say about Richmond. And now, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Richmond right here. But anyway, now let's get into Talladega right here. Next week is Talladega, the 2.66 mile super speedway right here, where a lot can happen, a lot of unpredictability. You know, how will the possible big one, affect the race right here, and will we see a strong driver or an unexpected victory right here? I don't know. I think if you would had asked me like what type of driver will we see win last year's Aaron's 499, I think I would have had said an expected driver like a Clint Boyer or Brad Keselowski. But I think somehow like this year, I'm just strangely sensing that we could see a very unexpected driver like a Justin Allgaier or a Casey Mears winning, tomorrow's next Sunday's race here, which by the way is actually not called the Aaron's 499. In fact, next week in both the Xfinity and the Sprint Cup, the races are not sponsored by Aaron's anymore. The Xfinity Series races, the Xfinity race is now being sponsored by. I think the race is called the Winn-Dixie 300 right here, and because it's not 312, the race is actually going to be shorter, and because it's not called 499 anymore, it's now 500, and the race is called the Geico 500 here. But I feel like when I look at the best average finishes are here, normally, historically, not too many drivers have been able to sort of been dominant every single time they come here. But I think when you look at the drivers who have made more than like 5 starts to Talladega, Clint Boyer and Brad Keselowski are 1-2 on the list here. Clint Boyer has a 14.44 average finisher here. Brad Keselowski has a 15.08. And I think when it comes to Brad Keselowski, I think Brad Keselowski is kind of like the new DL Jr. at Talladega, where it's like he can command a pack, like he could block he could block the entire field and not crash and still be in the lead here. If you can remember races like last, I think it was last October. Yes, it was. So I feel like to me, I'll put, as far as expected drivers to win Talladega, I'll put my money on those two. I think as far as unexpected drivers, I think to me, if there's like one like unexpected driver that I really want to win, I wanted to see Michael Waltrip win one last time. The only time I've seen Michael Waltrip win since I've been watching NASCAR was that 2011 Truck Series race at Daytona, and I was definitely excited when he won that race. I remember watching that race. But I just really want to see Michael Waltrip win one last time at Talladega. That's it. Just one last time, and that's it. But anyway, I think that's it for this week's race review. So I'd like to thank you for watching this race. Be sure to rate, not race review. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and buy, and hopefully I will be able to speak better.